Okay guys, so to make our Android game, the first thing we need to do is that we need to create a project in Unity. So let's create a new project. Let's open Unity Hub. We're gonna click New, and we're gonna select 2D because our game is gonna be for 2D or in 2D. Now we have to select a project name. So for the project name, I'm just going to call it Flappy Tutorial. And for the location, I'm gonna save it in my desktop in Unity 2D Official. You can save it wherever you want to. I chose this location because it suits my needs. So if you can click these three dots to browse the location of the file that you wanna save your game to. And once you selected your file, you hit create. And now Unity is gonna create a brand new template for our game. Alright, so now that we're here, if your layout doesn't look the same as this one, if the Unity editor doesn't look the same as my Unity editor, we'll go here and click default just to make sure that we both have the same view of the Unity editor. But remember that if you don't want to go from game to scene and from scene to game, we can just drag the game to one side like this and the scene to the other, or the other way around, how you prefer it, and just to make things better for the eye. Okay, so now the first thing that we need to do before starting our game is to actually import the assets that we're going to use in our game. So to do that, I want you to go to your Flappy assets. So I have that folder in my desktop, but if you don't have this folder, if you don't have the Flappy assets folder, you have to download it from Udemy. In this lecture, you will have a resources option, and you will be able to download a zip file. So in that zip file, you will have all of these folders. Okay, so out of all of these folders, the one we are interested in right now is in the folder called sprites. So we're gonna double click in the sprites folder, and here you can see that we have many different sprites. So the only thing that we are interested right now is the sprite sheet. So select the sprite sheet, then hit Ctrl and select the Flappy font and the Flappy font middle. Once you have all of them three selected, you can just left click and drag them to the assets folder like this. Alright, so now we have our sprites in the assets folder, but imagine that we have many different elements. This will start to look very disorganized very quickly. So to make things more organized, we're going to create a new folder. So right click in the project view, hit create and select folder. We're going to call this folder sprites like this. And then we're going to select all of these sprites. You can do so by selecting one and then selecting shift and selecting the last one to select all of them. And then you can just move them to the sprites folder like this. So now let's open the sprites folder, and here we have our sprites. So everything is now a little bit more organized. So now what we have to do is that we have to do some adjustments to the sprites. If we select the sprite sheet, we can see that we have some information here on the right in the Unity editor, in the inspector. And in here we can see that there are many fields and many different options. Our sprites are pixel art, so we need to make some adjustments, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is that here in sprite mode, we're going to set it to multiple because we have multiple sprites. So multiple. And then here in the filter mode, we're going to set it to point no filter. And here down where it says compression, we're going to set it to, it's at normal quality, we're going to set it to none. Okay, so you have to realize that we're doing these adjustments because it's pixel art, okay? And the fact that we said that it's multiple is because in this sprite sheet we have many different sprites and we want to manage them. So once we are done with this, hit apply. And once we have hit apply, now you can go to where it says, to this button where it says sprite editor. So hit this button and you will see that the sprite editor view appears. So inside here you can see all of the different sprites that we have. Okay, so we need to slice them up. And how do we slice these sprites? Because we want to make individual sprites out of this sprite sheet. So to do this, go to the top left and where it says slice, hit slice and then hit slice again. Okay, so now go here where it says apply, here to the right at the top, and hit apply. Okay, so now we have successfully sliced our sprites. So you can see that, for example, if we select this background, you can see that there's like a box, a container around this background. So that means that this is now an individual sprite. If we select the ground, we can see that the ground is an individual sprite. Right now you can move this box, but then you're not gonna, this is gonna, so wherever this box is, it means that this is gonna be a new sprite. So it's very important that it matches the boundaries of the ground. So it's very important that this box, this blue box over here, matches the boundaries of the ground, because this is the box is what defines what the sprite is. So here you can see that there's a little bit of space between the ground and the box and the blue outline. It's not that, well, it's a box, but it's more like an outline. So, and here you can see that the outline is a little bit inside the ground. So make sure that it fits perfectly, okay? And you have to do the same thing with every other sprite. So for example, let's go here where it says Flappy Bird. We're gonna zoom in and we can see that the outline matches perfectly the sprite. Okay, now here in Game Over, you can see that here, when we did the slicing, Unity created two different sprites. So we want this to be one single sprite. So to fix this, just delete one, hit the delete key and delete one outline. And with the other outline, we're gonna just drag it. We're gonna hover over the edge of the outline and just drag it like this to the right. And with the get ready, the same thing happens. So just make sure to fix that. Drag the outline like this, so it's just one single sprite. And here we want this to be one single sprite, but you can see that there are many different individual sprites. So we're gonna get rid of all of those, and then we're just gonna drag it like this, so we make one single sprite. And to the right. Okay, so we have that done. Then the OK button is okay, the play button is okay, the pause button is okay, the menu, that's fine. So it seems that everything is okay. But if we look here, we can see that here we have, this is the sparkle. This is gonna be the sparkle of our coins. And you can see that there's just one single sprite, and we want 3 individual sprites. So we're going to collapse the first one. So this is one individual sprite. And then we want to make a new slicing, right? We want to slice this and that. We want to make 2 different sprites. So to do that, we're going to just hold the left click and drag like this, and then release. And now we have created another sprite. And here we're going to do the same thing. And now we have all of our sprites sliced, and we are making sure that they are individual sprites. All right, so now that we have everything set up perfectly, we're going to hit apply again. And now we should have everything sliced up, and we should have individual sprites for each sprite. Okay, so now click here, close this window. And now you go here to the project view and you click this like a play button or an arrow here to the side of the sprite sheet. You can see that we have all of the sprites separated in individual sprites. So if I select, for example, the background, you can see that here in the inspector on the right, you can see that there is a preview of the background and it tells us the size in pixels. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is that we're going to set the environment to make an Android game, because this is a Unity project, but this is a general Unity project. And if we go to File, Build Settings, you will see that there are many options to make a game. We can make a game for PC, Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, WebGL. So we're gonna choose Android, and once we choose Android, we're gonna hit Switch Platform. So now Unity is gonna compile the scripts and it's gonna make every adjustment that it needs to make to switch to the Android platform. Okay, so now we have switched to the Android platform. So now we can close this window, and now we can see that here, where it says game, it says free aspect. This means that the aspect ratio is gonna scale depending on how big or small we make the game view. Okay, but we don't want to do this. We want to actually make a game based on a specific aspect ratio. So we're gonna hit clear here where it says free aspect, and we're going to select portrait 9:16. We're going to select this aspect ratio because it's a good aspect ratio for mobile devices, and it's gonna be the aspect ratio in which we're going to be working in. Okay, And you can see that there are many different aspect ratios for portrait and landscape. Our game is going to be in portrait, and we're going to choose this 9:16 aspect ratio. Alright, so now that we have this and we have our sprites, I think it would be a good idea to actually put something in the scene, right? So let's go ahead and left click the background and drag it to the hierarchy. So now you can see that the background has appeared in the hierarchy, but there is one problem. And the problem is that the background is very small, okay? So we can do two things. We can make the background bigger or larger, or we can make the camera smaller. If you make a game in pixel art and everything is and you have measured everything in Photoshop to make everything adjust to everything, I would recommend that you don't change the size of the art. I would recommend that you just change the size of the camera, so we could make the camera smaller. So select main camera here in the hierarchy, and here where it says size, the size is 5. We're gonna change the size to 1.2 like this. If we zoom in the scene, we can see that the camera fits not perfectly, but it fits, it's inside the background, so now we can see the background perfectly. Okay, so now something else that we could add to our scene is the ground, for example. So we could add the ground. So let's click left click the ground and drag it to the hierarchy like this, and now we can see that the ground is in here. And one thing that we could do is move the ground down. So hit W. So now we can move the ground along the y-axis by just clicking on the y-axis and moving the mouse cursor down. So we're gonna move it at this level more or less, so it looks nice. All right, and now one other thing that we could add to our scene is the bird itself. So we're gonna choose this bird over here. You can see the sprite that I chose because here in the inspector you can see a preview of the sprite. So we're gonna choose this sprite of the bird and we're gonna drag it to the scene. Alright, so every time I drag a game object to the scene, you can see that it has a different name. Sprite 0, Sprite 23, Sprite 11, and we don't want, those names are not descriptive. So let's change the name of the background to BG. We can do this in the inspector. Let's change the name of the ground to ground. And let's change the name of the bird to bird, okay? Alright. So we have this ready. We can place the bird a little bit over here, just that so it looks nice. Okay, so now one thing that we're going to add is a special plugin that will help us in making this game look good in every screen device. Because one thing that can happen is that if we hit play, you can see that now the game is playing. And one thing that you can see right now that there is a problem is that everything has disappeared. So why does this happen? Okay, so this happens because the bird and the ground and the background are there. The three of them are in the same layer. So we want different layers for these objects. It's just like in Photoshop, you have different layers. In Unity, you can also have different layers for the game objects. So we're gonna put the background in the background layer. So to do that, we're going to select the background, the BG, and we're gonna go here to the inspector, and we can see that there is a sorting layer here in the sprite render component. There's a sorting layer. So we're gonna hit add sorting layer, and we're gonna click this plus sign, and we're just gonna say we're gonna type in background like this. We're gonna add another sorting layer, and here we're gonna add the sorting layer mid ground like this. Yeah, like that. And now we can add another sorting layer, and this sorting layer we're gonna call it foreground like this. Okay, so now we have added 3 different sorting layers. The background will render behind the foreground, the midground will render behind the foreground, and the foreground will render in front of the midground and the background. Okay, so now we can go and select our BG again, and now we can go to sprite render and set the sorting layer to background. And now we can select the ground and set the sorting layer to midground, for example, or to foreground. Let's do it to foreground because it's better. And with the bird, we can add the sorting layer to midground, for example. So now if we hit play, if we save and hit play, we can see that everything stays in the right place. All right. So what I was telling you before is that, for example, now that we're playing the game, we can go here to the aspect ratio of the game. We can click here and then we can change it, for example, to 9:18. And when we change it, take a look at what happens. We're gonna change it, okay? So click, And now you can see that the height and the top of the game view and the bottom of the game view remain the same, but you can see that there are some chopped. There has been, Unity has chopped from the right and the left of the game view, and this is because we have selected a different type of screen size. So to avoid this, to avoid having our game chopped off on the sides, what we're going to do is that we're going to add a special plugin that will make our game look nice and will make our game look entirely. So it will make our game look completely as it is in every screen device. So to do this, we're going to go to the asset store. So here you can see where I have my scene, there's an asset store view window. So click on it. And if you don't see this asset store, go here to window, and here in general, well, you don't have to go to general. Here it says asset store, click asset store, and you will open this asset store. So this asset store connects to internet, and here you have all of the assets that you can download for Unity. So we're gonna type in here toolbox, I think it's letterbox, yeah, that's what it is, letterbox. And here when we select letterbox, let's select this first option that is free. So we're gonna select this letterbox, and here you can see that we can actually import it to, first you have to download it, and once you download it, you will be able to import it to your game. So click import, and here you can see that a dialog appears, and here you can select which objects or which elements you want to import to your game. We don't need the demos, so uncheck demos. Let's collapse this, let's collapse everything so you see everything clearly. We don't need the demos, we just need the documentation and the editor. Okay, so click import and select I made a backup, go ahead. And now Unity is going to import all of the elements of the letterbox plugin. It will take a moment, and once we have it, okay, now we can go back to our scene here. When we have it, you can see that here in the assets, there's an auto letterbox folder with all of the components. So you don't need to do anything with this. The only thing that we need to do is go here to the hierarchy, and we're going to right click, and then we're gonna go down where it says create force camera aspect ratios. This will be a new option that you have right now. So select create force camera ratios object, and force camera ratios object will be created. Okay, so now if you select that, we can go here in inspector, and you can see that it has a script component, and it has a field that says target viewport ratio. So in this target viewport ratio, we're going to select 9:16, which is the resolution that we're working with. And that's all we have to do. And now is where the magic happens. Now if we hit play, you can see that our game looks perfect because we are working in this is our resolution, 9:16. But now if you go here to the aspect ratio and you change it to 9:18, you can see that that the game looks the same, and some black bars have appeared at the top and at the bottom. So the magic with this plugin is that your game will look the same on any screen device, and if the screen device has a taller screen size or a wider screen size, the plugin is going to create some black bars at the top and bottom or on the sides to make the game look great on every screen device. So okay, so that's it. That's what you have to know for now, and that's gonna be it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.